You guys are looking live at Coors Field, site of this year's All-Star Game and tonight's Home Run Derby. Beautiful looking Colorado here. Trevor Story trying to defend the home turf, hitting in his home ballpark here. And of course, Shohei Ohtani, the talk of the entire game, the entire Home Run Derby, hoping to make another mark on his magical season.
We can't wait to see it. A fantastic field of young slugging superstars. We welcome you all to the Home Run Derby.
Oh my goodness, showtime! 'Cause I got the drive, I put it in gear. Line them up, I don't see no competitors here. If it ain't first place, we really can't settle for it. Listen up, listen up.
A monstrous ball. See you later.
Get ready, let's go. Get ready, we're running the show. Get ready, you already know. Let's go. Get ready for it.
Yes, it's the hype button. It is time. If that doesn't get your juices flowing, I don't know what will. Slam that button. I'm Mike Golic Jr. He is Joon Lee. Dropping the button. He is so excited. Joon, I can feel the energy, man. How you doing?
I'm so jazzed for the Derby. The Derby is like one of my favorite baseball things every single year.
You know what? We are excited to take you up to the Derby. It's the Baseball Tonight live pregame show for the Home Run Derby that is going to be taking place at Coors Field, and that's where we go for the third member of our group as Clinton Yates is there live on the scene. Clinton, how are we feeling? Because you're looking great, my friend.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate that. Listen, here's the thing that people forget about All-Star Weekend. There wasn't one last year, so people are coming back. They moved it from Atlanta. We're here in Denver. We've been having a great time. You mentioned Trevor Story, who's trying to defend the home turf. Shohei, I saw that guy with my own eyeballs, Gojo. Sexy individual. We like that, all right? And there's a lot of other dudes here that are going to do a lot. So I'm fired up. All the fans are fired up. There's been a lot of fun sort of installations and all that kind of stuff the whole week. The draft was here yesterday as well. Exciting baseball operations. We love to see it.
There we go. Listen, I like my baseball sexy, June. I know you agree.
Clinton is a vibe right now.
Clinton is an entire mood. And so let's roll with that mood into our look at the brackets here for tonight's Home Run Derby. Before you get upset about the seeding here, it's determined by how many homers each player had coming into this season. As Clinton mentioned, no Derby, no All-Star Game last year. So 7 first-time competitors with Pete Alonso trying to defend his crowd. Let's start with the 1-8 matchup on this. You've got Shohei Ohtani rolling into this occasion with all of the fanfare. You've got the 8th seed in Juan Soto. And Clinton, I know you know a thing or two about baseball in the district. So what are you looking forward to? What are you expecting out of this matchup?
For me, I think that Juan is the guy who's it's a tough matchup because of what we did, but Shohei's got a lot of pressure on him. All the eyeballs are on him right now. Soto is a guy whose swing is a little bit more acclimated to this kind of an event. I know that Shohei hits tanks, and he's been bombing the ball out. We've been watching him earlier, but I actually think Soto's going to get him in this matchup. I just think that the way his repeating motion is from the left side, he's got a better chance of getting out of that first round.
I'm really concerned about Juan Soto upsetting Shohei Ohtani in the first round. I want Ohtani to win. I'm predicting him to win, and I'm predicting that with my heart. I have my Ham Fighters Ohtani jersey with me right now. But I am slightly concerned that Soto is going to be able to best him in his first round.
It's so interesting to think about because we heard the news, obviously, Angels hitting coach Jeremy Reed said Ohtani hasn't taken batting practice all year, and so I wasn't sure how to digest a lot of that. Interesting that we've got some nerve. Understandable. Juan Soto is a stud. But Shohei Ohtani, we know that this has also become a larger conversation with him heading into the All-Star game. He's one of the best players right now. And some would say the face of Major League Baseball. June, we know that there were some comments made earlier today about that topic, about Shohei being the face of Major League Baseball. What was your reaction when you heard this?
Yeah, I wanted to personally address the rhetoric around Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, as an Asian American, as someone whose second language is English, the comments today made on First Take were specifically about how Ohtani couldn't be the face of baseball because he had to work through a translator. And in my opinion, that's exactly why he should be the face of baseball. Ohtani, because he is in a different country, because he is navigating the gap between the Eastern and Western culture, because he's navigating in a second language. And by the way, he does speak English and he also speaks Spanish, but he uses a translator because for the same reason as Ishihara, he wants to make sure that when he does speak to the public that he feels he's able to express himself fully versus speaking in English in his second language. And so it's exactly the reason why Ohtani is a showcase for the sport and why he is so good for the sport, because he represents so many things for baseball. He represents the fact that this is an international game. He represents the fact that English as a language doesn't need to be a barrier in someone becoming famous and becoming notorious. You know, the fact that or the idea presented that someone who doesn't speak English can't be the face of the sport, I think is inherently xenophobic, and it is inherently against the idealistic idea of what the American dream is. And Ohtani not being able to speak English, I think, is a massive benefit for the sport in growing the sport internationally. But there's also a way to market this. Market him as kind of this international face for baseball. The fact that you don't have to come from a certain background in America to be able to be a star in this game. And Ohtani specifically, being able to lean into his background. You know, I was able to learn English as a first-generation American, and seeing someone come over and dominate the sport like him, being able to navigate kind of that cultural gap, being able to navigate that language barrier. I've talked to a lot of players, not just from Asian countries, but from Latin American countries who have so much difficulty and struggle kind of transitioning over into professional sports because of that cultural gap, and as well, it affects them on the field. Not only is Ohtani adapting to being in a country where he doesn't know anyone other than his translator, but he's able to succeed at such a high level. He's able to not only be an all-star as a pitcher, but also as a hitter. You know, when Ohtani came over, so many people were unsure about whether or not he would be able to translate both as a pitcher and a hitter, and he's not only exceeded expectations, but he's transcended the comparisons that people are giving to him in regards to Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was able to pitch at such a high level and hit at such a high level. But if you look at his career stats, there's only one single season where he went and pitched and hit at a level similar to Ohtani. And if Ohtani, especially if he's able to do this over the course of a full season, he's going to transcend everything Babe Ruth ever did on the field. And so this is a guy that, and I said this on Around the Horn on FaceTime the other week, but his story should be transcending beyond baseball right now. This is a story that I think deserves to be talked about beyond sports, should be a topic of conversation on Good Morning America, on the Today Show, on national news. And I think part of the reason why we're having this discussion right now is because Western media, and American media in particular, is so unprepared as a cultural entity to talk about Asian American issues. I think we saw this come up with the Stop Asian Hate movement, and I think we saw this with Linsanity. The fact that we are even having this discussion right now, the fact that I have to come out and talk about the difficulties of culturally transitioning to America and why those comments devalue the immigrant experience, I think speaks to the fact that we as a country need to get better and be more prepared to speak about the Asian American experience as a whole.
And Joon, I think you brought up all those challenges that he has overcome in this setting to be as great as he is. The American dream, and certainly, Clinton, when we think of sports, what's supposed to be this arena, the ultimate meritocracy, calling Shohei Ohtani the face of Major League Baseball to that end should be something more like a foregone conclusion, should it not?
Absolutely, and I think that's really what it comes down to not recognize what Shohei has done to this point already is bad for the business of baseball overall. Forget about the major leagues. That's one league on one continent. People know I follow this game for a lot of different places that are not just Major League Baseball. And just because some guy doesn't happen to speak a language that is centric to what we think makes the most sense doesn't mean that they are not excelling and doing things that everybody else should be trying to do as well. I gotta say, I was incensed when I heard those remarks earlier today, to knowing how many different people try to find their way into this game. To think that something as ridiculous as a language barrier is a reason to knock somebody who's excelling at that level. You want to compare somebody to Babe Ruth? Babe Ruth played when black players weren't even allowed on the daggone field. Think about that from a historical standpoint. We have come leaps and bounds in this sport to be sitting around worried about how somebody talks to somebody else. The language of baseball is universal. It's why people love it. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah, Clinton, I think you make such a great point talking about that, but it's also the reason why I think people like us are in the business. I wanted to be in the business because there were so few Asian American faces on television, and I wanted to be able to translate and talk about my experience and translate the experience of so many of these other Asian American players and other minority players on the baseball field, because as you guys know, the Baseball Writers Association, a lot of the people covering the sport, it's a predominantly white business. And I say that as a matter of fact, and the fact that there's people like me, people like Clinton, people like Gary on this show when you aren't hosting, the fact that we are here as minorities talking about the sport and able to talk about our experiences as minorities, that's the reason why a show like this even exists in the first place.
Absolutely. It's so many valued perspectives around here. We're fortunate to have at the company, fortunate to be able to hear from both of you on this matter. And Joon, you brought it up. It's unfortunate that we've got to spend time with this during a broadcast that's supposed to be a fun time, that's supposed to be about what's going on the field tonight. So I want to also give you guys the chance to talk about what we have going on the field tonight as well. So let's get back. Joon is slamming the hype button here. It's time to get to our next matchup in this home run derby. Let's look at the 2 seed, Joey Gallo, the 17th seed, and the home run guy that we saw in that open here, Trevor Story, going at it tonight. Clinton, looking at this matchup here, how much of a shot are you giving Trevor Story to defend home turf here in Coors Field?
So here's the deal. Trevor Story might not be playing on this team pretty soon. This is going to be a big moment for him if he ends up winning this daggone thing for Colorado. However, Joey Gallo is my pick to win this whole thing. Again, there's certain guys who I just feel that their strokes are more conducive to an event like this. And story short, it'll be fun. And I think everybody here wants to see him do well. But I think Gallo's the best hitter in this form at this moment right now. So we're rooting for Trevor to some extent, but Joey can mash, bro.
Yeah, for Joey Gallo, 16 homers over the course of the last 5 seasons, beyond 450 feet here, trailing only Giancarlo Stanton. So, Joon, Joey Gallo, how are we feeling about his chances, not only in this matchup, but to win the whole thing?
I mean, I think Clinton's spot on in that he's got a swing that's just perfectly made. The variable here is the guy pitching to him. If he's able to get a bunch of pitches in his wheelhouse, because that's often a variable in these home run derbies, is how good the person's batting practice pitcher is. Gallo's going to have as good a shot as anyone. Although, to build off of Clinton's point, Gallo and Ohtani, I think, both have swings that are pretty built for this derby. Ohtani has won a derby in Japan in the past, and so I would love to see an Ohtani versus Gallo showdown in some form.
I think we're all rooting for Ohtani to be involved in that final stanza in this as fans of baseball. But let's talk about guys who have won derby here. The last time we had a home run derby in 2019, Pete Alonso was the winner. Since he entered the majors, 84 home runs during that span, most in the bigs. So Clinton, looking at this one, Pete Alonso, should we be giving him more of a chance as the defending champion in this contest?
I think we should. I was there in Cleveland when they had that home run derby. It was the best derby I've ever seen. Vladdy Jr. went nuts, and he didn't even win the daggone thing. So Pete Alonso, to me, definitely has a chance, if for no other reason than he's got the muscle memory and training to have done it before. Again, if you haven't seen a home run derby that you liked, go watch that one. All right, they hit. I mean, it was one of the best baseball events I've ever seen. Never mind been to. So when people talk about, oh, it's a bummer that Vladdy Jr. wasn't here, you got one out of him. All right, and that was pretty good. So I'm giving Alonso a good chance here because he knows what he's doing, flat out.
I was going to say 7 newcomers in this event. Pete Alonso, the only one returning to it. But Joon, we've also got Salvador Perez leading all catchers and homers this season. Any shot for him in the 4-5 matchup?
I feel like there's a sneaky chance. I feel like he's the guy that everyone is rooting against. Salvador Perez winning the Derby, I think, would excite very few people.
You know what? Fair point and all that. Everyone's got to have someone in the contest they're looking to get out of there early. So maybe the folks in Kansas City right now might disagree. Patrick Mahomes somewhere wailing and gnashing teeth hearing
yes,
that. But,
absolutely. I'm sorry, Patrick Mahomes.
I was going to say, it's a shame he doesn't have much more going for him in life. So I think he'll be okay here. So why don't we move to the last round here? The 3 seed and the 6 seed. Matt Olson against Trey Mancini, who's been such an unbelievable story this entire season. Joon, I want to start with you on this one. Trey Mancini overcoming his battle with cancer, all these things off the field to wind up here in the All-Star break's pretty special.
Yeah, and there was a great story by my pal Nathan Ruiz of the Baltimore Sun, who wrote about Trey Mancini's pitcher, who was one of his coaches at Notre Dame in college. And they together tonight are honoring one of their teammates who passed away from cancer. It's a really great story that I recommend checking out in the Baltimore Sun about Trey Mancini and the backstory of what's going on with him tonight, beyond just his incredible comeback surviving cancer and chemotherapy. He's been one of the best stories in baseball. It's unfortunate the Baltimore Orioles are as bad as they are. But Trey Mancini's story, there was a great story written today by Kevin Van Valkenburg. That's an ESPN cover story that you guys can go check out on ESPN.com as well. But Trey Mancini, one of my favorite stories of the year. I'm glad that he's getting a moment of spotlight in the Home Run Derby tonight.
You mentioned how bad the Orioles have been. This is still, though, the 11th different Oriole player to enter into the Home Run Derby, tying the Blue Jays for the most ever by an AL team. Clinton, this 3-6 matchup, who do you like here?
Sidebar, Cedric Mullins also here from the Orioles, tremendous base runner.
Absolutely.
Checking in as the president of base running Twitter. I have to remind you of that. But the Mancini story, though, to me, if you're looking for something as just a human being to latch onto, there will not be a dry eye in the building when this guy gets to the plate. It's just a heck of a story once again. And, you know, I'm rooting for that guy probably more than anybody, simply because of what Joon talked about and the battle that he's come back from and everything we've heard from a story standpoint. Just a heck of a player.
It's remarkable as a fellow Fighting Irish alum. It's been remarkable to watch what he's overcome. Really proud of him being able to get back out there and beat so much. So that's a great story. There's plenty to root for in the Home Run Derby tonight, but now we need picks. Clinton Yates, you are out there. We're going to give you the first crack at this. Who you got winning it all?
I still think it's going to be Joey Gallo. He's got his third base coach, who also is a cancer survivor, pitching to him for the Rangers. I just think that guy's swing is what you want in an event like this, and I think it's going to be Gallo.
All right, Joon, you've been slamming the hype button over here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's Shohei. No questions asked. God, he doesn't even need words to make this pick. Let's watch Shohei and BP right now. Mother of God.
I almost got
Good
knocked by a
Lord.
ball from Shohei, by the way.
Oh, that is terrifying. I'm actually worried about this hitting Clinton in the middle of the broadcast if Shohei's going to keep blasting him like that.
Jeff Passan said it was a 510-foot homer in batting practice.
Yeah, okay, if you're asking for my pick then, I'm going with that guy. I'm going with the guy hitting 500-footers in BP right now. Clinton, I'll give you a chance to go back on if you want to join us on the side of good here.
I woke up feeling dangerous this morning, to quote a famous football player, and Joey Gallo was on my mind, so I'm sticking with it.
All right, there we go. Clinton woke up feeling dangerous, and he woke up looking fresh out at Coors Field. It is the Baseball Tonight Live pregame show taking you up to the Home Run Derby. Reminder, if you're watching in the ESPN app right now, sign into your provider so that you can roll right through and watch the Derby here. You don't got to go anywhere in the process. But while we've got you here, figure we take you back through in honor of the Derby. Some notable homers from the first half of the Major League season. Let's check out what the longest homers of this one. You've got Marcell Ozuna versus the Cubs, 479 feet, all the way back in April. Whew. Decent work if you can get it, and the streak on the pants to go with it. But let's keep upgrading this thing here. We've got Marcell Ozuna on this one. The Braves proudly represented here. Why don't we up the ante with Ronald Acuna Jr.?
It's so unfortunate that
I was
season
going
is
to
over.
say, seeing this, the ACL tear going to end his 2021 season, but this 481-footer against the Cubs, June, an absolute blast.
I actually have a story coming up about an artist, Faye Webster, who wrote a love song dedicated to Ronald Acuna.
Wow. All right, be sure to check that out here. But number one, your mean Mercedes, a 485-foot bomb.
Who's now in AAA.
Don't mind the man behind the curtain, Joon Lee over here, quite literally raining on the parade as we saw in there. But hey, listen, that's the reality of this. It's not all fun and games when you're mashing dingers here. So why don't we take a look now? We went long on this one. Let's take a look at the shortest home runs of the first half. Obviously, this doesn't include inside the park homers. Let's start out with JD Martinez. 326 feet against the Rays here. Clinton Yates put out a tweet earlier talking about the best name for a home run, June, and this feels like it would qualify in the poke category.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, a pesky pole home run is about as short as you can get in baseball. This is absolutely in the poke category.
That's in the poke category here. Let's keep it going. Oh my God, a 315-footer?
This is all pesky pole homers.
Gurriel here with an absolute, is that a bloop then? I'm trying to think about what goes even lower than a poke at this point, but appears to be another pesky poke here on this one. And let's finish off. I promise this isn't a short joke at all or anything like that as we look at the Astros here. Carlos Correa, though, A 310-footer. Just barely. Getting it in. It's up. It's good.
I feel like what we've learned from this segment is that realistically, for any human where hitting a home run is possible is probably Fenway Park.
Yes, I was going to say.
For a normal human.
If you're looking to be a normal mere mortal and hit him, Fenway is probably your place. This show and this season really have been about someone who's anything but a normal human in Shohei Ohtani. He has been the dominant story of the majors, and Joon had a chance to catch up with him earlier talking about the best story in the bigs.
All right, so we're welcoming in Jeff Passan live from Denver. Jeff, you report today that Ohtani is going to be starting the All-Star game as the pitcher and as the designated hitter. What is the significance of that?
I mean, it's just a completely ridiculous conceit, right? Like, a guy is good enough to be voted in as a hitter and good enough to be voted in by his peers as a pitcher, and then is chosen to start the game. And now, mind you, some of that is logistical. Like, it's going to be really difficult to get Shohei Ohtani warmed up and into the game if he's batting as well. So, you know, there were some issues there. But the fact is, Kevin Cash in Major League Baseball understood having Shohei Ohtani start this game is a good thing for the sport, because this right now is the most interesting player on the planet, and he's going to get a chance to prove it over these next 24 hours when he's in the Home Run Derby and then starting and leading off.
Well, between the Derby tonight and him starting the All-Star game, it almost feels like this is a little bit of a national showcase coming out moment for Ohtani.
Did you say showcase?
Are
you getting funny with me, Joon Lee? No, of course not. Totally unintentional.
That was totally unintentional.
Like, Joon, here's the thing. Shohei Ohtani plays for the second biggest team in Los Angeles. Like, and you can argue he plays for the third most popular team in Southern California. So, of course, you want to showcase him however you can on national television, in the Home Run Derby, on Fox, in the All-Star game. You know, he's on ESPN everywhere. Like, if you're not going to showcase him, then what are you doing as a sport? The thing about it is, Shohei Ohtani showcases himself, his presence, the dynamism of this guy, what he's capable of doing on both sides of the baseball. I mean, we say it's since Babe Ruth. You know, you look at the Negro Leagues as well. There are plenty of players there. The point is, it has been 75 years since we have seen somebody who's as talented as Shohei Ohtani, enough to do both of these things regularly. And the fact that he's doing it in this era of baseball, when players are better than they have ever been before, is, to me, maybe the most remarkable part of the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that Shohei Ohtani is transcending anything Babe Ruth did. We should be comparing Shohei Ohtani only to Shohei Ohtani. And another guy we're going to be seeing in the Derby tonight is Trevor Story. He's a guy who's probably going to be on the move, question mark. What is the latest on him and where you think he's going to be around the trade deadline?
The problem right now is with the shortstop market, Joon. There are just not a whole lot of teams that are looking for a shortstop at this point. And because of that, you know, you wonder, it's not just Trevor Story. It could be Javier Baez on the move, too. Like, the inventory of sellers right now is exceeding the inventory of teams that want to add. And so if the Colorado Rockies do move Trevor Story, they may wind up moving him to a team that plays him at second or third base potentially, which is odd to think because Trevor Story is like an elite defensive shortstop as well. This isn't somebody who needs to be moved off shortstop because he's not good at it. This is somebody who would be moved off shortstop only because there's somebody who's incumbent there already who's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Another team that could be sellers heading into the trade deadline is the Chicago Cubs. Jed Hoyer said that there could be changes moving forward. What is the latest you're hearing on the Cubs?
I don't think the Cubs want to subtract. I just think they're going to be forced to, and that's what happens when you lose 11 straight games. You know, the good teams typically do not lose 11 games in a row. And I think the Cubs, as of a couple weeks ago, Joon, were looking to be buyers. Like, they were going to go and add guys. But now, when you look at where they are in the standings, behind the Milwaukee Brewers, as far back as they are, and with the potential windfall that they can get from Chris Bryant, from Craig Kimbrell, from Javier Baez, Ryan Tepera, Andrew Chafin, even Anthony Rizzo. Like, there are a lot of very valuable guys on the Chicago Cubs. And as they go into, they're probably not going to call it a rebuild, as they go into a reboot with this new generation of players that they have coming, they need as much talent as they can get.
Yeah, and the Cubs, they're obviously so many people are tied to that championship team, but I feel like that nostalgia almost hurt them as they were trying to continue to build as we move forward. The Yankees are another team kind of in a precarious situation, have been kind of hovering around 500 all year. Brian Cashman hinted that they could be sellers at the deadline. Is that what you're hearing right now, or how do you think they're going to approach the deadline?
I guess the question, the question is, what do they have to sell? Like, I mean, honestly, I don't think Aaron Judge is going to be getting traded. I don't think Luke Voit is going to be getting traded.
Nobody wants the Stanton contract?
That's not happening. Maybe Gleyber Torres, maybe Gary Sanchez. I mean, there are guys on the Yankees who other teams would look at and believe that there is some value there. It's just nothing like the Cubs, and it's not rental players either. Closest thing we could see to that would have been Aroldis Chapman. The Yankees blew a giant lead in the 9th inning yesterday against the Houston Astros, and they didn't go to their closer. Like, what does that say about how what does that say about how they feel about him? Like, this is a real thing. Chapman, if they had decided to trade guys away, was going to be a huge get for a team like Craig Kimbrell. The last 3 weeks have completely flipped the script on that, and nobody wants Aroldis Chapman right now.
All right, who do you got at the Derby tonight? You're on the ground.
I mean, you have to pick Ohtani. Like, even if I don't believe it, I'm going to pick Ohtani.
We gotta manifest it into existence.
I don't know who's going to wilt in this heat. But I will say this, Joon Lee, I'm in a suit right now, and I'm not sweating. So if I can do this, then certainly the players in the Home Run Derby tonight have no excuse. All they're doing is swinging. I'm talking right now. What's tougher? I ask you that.
I would say probably swinging a baseball bat is tougher than talking.
Yeah. All right, fine. You know what? I need to go anyway. Bye, June.
Bye, Jeff.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with Joon Lee and say talking is very hard, but looking good is even harder. I am not equipped for this diamond drip, but thankfully June, Clinton Yates, both here to help us out as we get ready to look at the style and substance behind this Major League Baseball All-Star Game here on Baseball Tonight Live's Home Run Derby pre-show. So June, why don't you take us through in the diamond drip here as we look at some of the bats that we're going to be seeing tonight in the Derby?
Yeah, I wrote a story this week for ESPN.com on Pete Alonso's bats. He worked with spray paint artist Gregory Siff out in Los Angeles, who's done a bunch of collaborations with Topps and Major League Baseball. He did this big mural for MLB at ComplexCon. He basically went through, interviewed Pete about kind of his life story, and then they went through and did all these like little small intricate designs. There's 7 bats that Pete might use tonight. And I think they're just beautiful, and they're part of this like growing trend in baseball towards painted bats. Pete said that he would be open in the future for MLB allowing painted bats in games beyond things like the Derby, and I really, really do hope to see that myself.
Always love to see those expressions of self making their way to the game. When I think of drip, though, I do think of Clinton Yates. So, Clinton, what do you have here ready for us as we go diamond drip out at Coors Field?
All right, boys, we've got a special collaboration between Nike and Henry Louis Aaron's Foundation that Ken Griffey Jr. got involved with. Little unboxing, boys. You know number 44, one of the best players in the history of Major League Baseball, passed away earlier this year. Well, Nike decided that they wanted to try to honor his legacy through a lot of his foundations. Let's check out these shoes. Hold up.
How do I get my hands on one of these?
Honest. Oh.
Yo! Woo!
All right. How fresh are these? So we got the gold cleat situation. And the idea here is that every single team that Henry Aaron played for is represented somehow visually on the shoe in a different way. The toe eyelet has a different color for, I believe, what was his Negro League team. Obviously, these are the Air Griffey footprint in terms of the shoes that they are. And they say on the strap, keep swinging, which was that man's motto for life. So we love these. We love the box. All the guys down on the field are wearing 44 jerseys. It's been fantastic, man. So I just, it's one of those deals where when good things come together, you're happy to see it. And we love to see this too. Plus, there's like 10 total guys here that have these. And I'm one of them. How about that?
I want to take an L on the sneakers app for one of those so bad.
I'll take 6 months of L's. I'm already going to, so if I get that on the other side, that seems like a great thing. Unbelievable collaboration and unboxing by Clinton Yates. We are getting close to Home Run Derby time, though, here on the show. Peyton Manning out in the outfield here, getting a catch in. Not used to this from him.
Where's he?
Whoa!
Peyton Manning's here? I might have to go find that guy.
I don't know if you guys have seen Peyton's Places, ESPN Plus. It's all a thing here, as is your guys' great information show tonight. So I want to get some rapid fire questions here for the warm-ups that are going on right now. Joon, I'm going to start with you. The longest home run of tonight is going to belong to
Joey Gallo.
Seems like a pretty safe bet on this one. Clinton, what about you?
What was the question? I couldn't hear you. People are screaming in my ear.
Longest home run of the night
Longest
belongs
home
to?
run? I think the longest home run is going to be Shohei.
All right, there we go. I'm going to rock with the Shohei train as well on that one. Joon, will someone swing and miss tonight?
No.
Wow, you did not sound sure about that. Clinton Yates, is someone going to swing and miss tonight here? Joon is unsure.
I think somebody is going to swing and miss tonight. High altitude, by the by, the balls are not in the humidor. So they're going to be flying out a little differently than they normally do during the game. Quick factoid.
I was going to say, very excited to see that one. We've got some pseudo-juiced balls going into tonight, courtesy of the folks at Coors Field here. All right, Joon, will a kid in the outfield make a web jam catch tonight?
100%, and then there's going to be a bunch where there's a bunch of kids trying to go for it, and they all,
Yeah, no, they
all bump into each other.
It's what little kids do best here. Clinton, what about you here? Any web gem predictions for the kids in the outfield tonight?
100% it will be from somebody in the crowd. This dude has been on SportsCenter Top 10 before on SVP's show. He showed up to the bar last night with a giant glove, and this is the thing he actually does. So if you see that guy's a friend of mine now because I met him just the other day, and he's getting after it here with his family, and it's the thing they do. So, yeah, I can't remember his name. Sorry, buddy, but he'll be on SportsCenter probably if you do it.
Hey, listen, always say have friends with big gloves. That's an important thing here. Joon, all right, you know what? Let's go to Clinton. I want one more question here. Clinton, are you going to catch a ball at all during the Home Run Derby?
I did bring my gloves, so that is an option, but I left it at the crib because I'm a grown man, and I can catch with my own hands, okay?
Ooh, all right, there we go. Listen, I wasn't going to accuse anyone of anything here, Joon. I don't know, that sounded very defensive.
It seems like you got something to work out there with a therapist.
Like I say, but we don't have time for therapy here.
Hey. Everybody here who's in the media press box, everybody who's in the press box on the Ox box as it's known, because it's in fair territory, there's like 35 gloves. So I imagine I'll see a ball come my way or two.
Probably expect that. We know Clinton won't have to get ready because he stays ready. Awesome stuff from Clinton Yates out at Coors Field. Joon Lee here. Thank you for watching the Baseball Tonight Live Home Run Derby pre-show. Reminder, if you're watching on the ESPN app, log into your service provider so you can stick right around here and keep watching, and check out the StatCast edition over on ESPN2. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy those dingers tonight.